That's webinars live streaming on Facebook.
It is. Although I still have to hit broad. Yeah, that goes live, but the webinar is not live until I hit broadcast. So it's interesting. It can go live on Facebook, huh?
I know, that's so strange.
That's okay. I've got that open too, so I can watch us. So, okay. I'm gonna hit broadcast, okay?
Okay.
You ready?
Ready.
Thanks for making this happen, Monica.
Oh, thank you. You're the one that started the whole thing.
Okay, broadcast. I feel like I should take my virtual background off.
No, leave it. It says we're on.
Okay. Yep. All right. So if anybody's joining us, they'll start showing up now. I can't see before now.
No.
We have Crystal. Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Crystal.
I can't see myself. Hold on. Let me switch my view. There we go. Thanks for joining us today. So we have, oh, it's right at 11 o'clock. Perfect. Okay. Well, welcome everybody to Your Home Redesigned with Monica Olson at Casafina Interior Designs and Jeanette Nelson with Keller Williams Realty. We are here as a team to help you enjoy your home more and to bring more efficiency to the space. And you know, you're all stuck at home right now, so why not enlighten one of the areas of your home? And today we're going to be talking about bathrooms. So we're excited to see what we can do in our bathrooms. And you know, when you sell a house, everyone loves the bathrooms and the kitchen to be remodeled and updated. So you may as well do it now and enjoy it yourself. And then when you decide to sell or rent the home out one day, that it'll definitely pay you dividends on the price that you would get or the rental amount that you could get. So bathrooms and kitchens, which is this week and next week, are two real important factors to enjoy the space more, to have resale value, and just overall more joy in your life. So thank you, Monica, for being here. And we're looking forward to sharing with you some great insights from our interior designer.
Yeah, this should be a good one. I know most people are interested mainly in kitchen and bath remodeling because that's the big ticket item for any, you know, project. So I am really excited to bring this to you. Should I go ahead and start, or should we wait and see?
Yeah, let me think if there was anything else.
Oh, we want to do it.
No, oh, yeah, some housekeeping. So if you want to ask questions along the way, this will be interactive. So please hit the question and answer or the chat room. We'll see either one, and go ahead and ask questions or go ahead and type in any notes or anything that you might want to share or any more details that you may want, or maybe even like a place that Monica goes to purchase those items or where she might suggest getting things. That can be helpful too. So feel free to do that. You could start right now by going into the chat and letting us know if you can hear us. Go ahead and let us know if you can hear us. We assume you can.
We're assuming.
We wouldn't want you to miss out. So, okay. So let's see.
Fred's on there. Hi, Fred.
Hi, Fred. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Oh. Can you guys hear us okay? Oh, we got something. Okay. We're good to go. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Good job. Thanks, Fred. Way to use technology, buddy. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about bathrooms, and please feel free to reach out. We love questions, so please feel free to ask away. Okay.
Just wanted to mention last week's winner was Barbara. So congratulations.
Yay. Yay, Barbara.
Look forward to choosing someone this week. Uh-oh, again, I'm disabled.
Do you want to put your microphone on?
Oh, sorry, you're right. I am
okay.
disabled though for sharing my screen, and I did the one so, that you sent, that was sent for panelists. Can you fix that for me?
Yes.
Sorry, guys.
Share.
don't know why it's showing that I'm not accessible here.
Well, I think you're fine because it says change to attendee option. What's happening? You're not able to share?
It's saying host disabled participant screen sharing. So unfortunately, the one
Okay,
that I
hold on.
got the other day still is showing as attendee, not as a
I just sent you one last night. I wonder
That's the one I did.
do you want to re-log in?
Let me
The one
try
from last
again.
night, the
Hang on.
panelist. Let me just,
I'm going to leave real quick and get back on, all right?
let me see. Last time, oh yeah, you're
You
actually
did
a
something.
panelist. Hold on, let me go in here.
I don't know why it's not letting us.
Let's see.
Yeah, because every time I go on to do it, it's telling me I'm not able to.
I can't screen share. Let's see. What did I do last time?
Did you take me off as panel as a participant?
Oh, let me click my view difference. Switch. Can you try it now?
Nope, still doing that. I don't know why. And I did go on, I pulled up the one you sent me.
Yeah, it shows you're a panelist.
All right.
Let me turn on the share screen thing. Go ahead now.
There we go. That was it.
Okay. Okay.
Oops.
Thank you for your patience. Here we go.
Thanks, guys. We're still figuring this out. All right, there we go. All right, so it's back time, and I'm really excited to bring this to you because I think this is very important for everyone to have an idea of what it takes to remodel a bathroom. And, you know, there's obviously, you have a few different options, whether your room's a, you know, master or a guest bath or, you know, powder room. So those are some factors that come into play. But for this discussion, for purposes of this one, we are going to be discussing the concept, layout, budgets, the selections. So obviously cabinets, plumbing fixtures and faucets, surface materials, which are like tile and some paneling, like porcelain paneling, lighting, storage, style, and some before and afters. So the first thing, when I typically meet with a client, the first thing I want to do is get an idea of what it is you want. What are your goals for that bathroom? So are you looking at, you know, first of all, is it a master? Is it a guest bath? Is it a powder room? Because those are going to affect what we're doing. Who uses that bathroom? So is it a kid's bathroom? You need storage. You need it to be very, you know, user-friendly. Are there privacy concerns? So again, you know, do you want your own separate water closet, tub shower? Are we doing a tub? Are we doing a shower? Are we doing a combo? Are we doing both? Grooming habits. We women, you know, we need a lot of space and a lot of storage. So the lighting has to be, you know, really good for us to be able to put on the makeup and sinks and faucets. So we're going to cover all these issues in our first meeting so that I have an idea of what, you know, I or any designer have an idea of what it is you really want in your bathroom. And that is what we call the conceptual phase. Also, do you want some entertainment in there? You know, if it's a nice area, nice room, do you want a TV? Do you want music? You want to be able to set up your, you know, your Spotify or, you know, one of your programs. You know, this picture I have here, we have a fireplace. So are you interested in doing something like that? So these are the things that we are covering. And there's some, you know, I try to go in depth so I really have an understanding of how you use that space. So from there, we decide, okay, let's figure out how we're going to lay this room out. Are we going with the same footprint? Are we changing it up? This is a good example of one that we've changed up. This was a project I did last year with a builder. He's flipping a home. And the bathroom, if you see this, let me get my little pointer here. So this window is your point of reference, which is actually, this is the rendering. So this is kind of like the want, or at least the initial concept. So again, it's here, and the final picture is here. But what we did, if you noticed, when you walked into the bathroom, there's a shower here, the toilet's behind, which I always rather not see that first thing. And then a vanity. There's a lot of wasted space. And being that this was a two bathroom home, the master suite had its own bathroom, and this would be for, you know, probably a young family that's moving in the area. So we wanted something that was compatible to have, you know, kids in. We did a tub shower, and we moved that over from this section here to the back wall. And then initially we discussed maybe some shelving with, say, reclaimed wood, because, you know, it's just kind of a cool look. Later we decided it made more sense to make it linen, since it was the only other bathroom, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of storage that's necessary for that room. So we ended up placing it, we created this little wall, so that's your plumb wall, and then on the other side is your storage. And we had some rollouts here on the bottom, and just adjustable shelving above. And then the toilet was relocated to this wall. So we really changed everything up. Bright and airy now. This room was kind of scary looking when you first walked in. Ceiling was just, you know, with the cottage cheese, and it was falling. It was plaster. I'm sorry, not cottage cheese, the plaster, and it was just falling apart because of water damage. So everything was ripped out and brand new. We had to put in some new lighting. There's some cans you don't see. There's a vent, and the plumbing. We were talking originally about a trough sink, and when the contractor went and put it together, they ended up just doing an under counter sink. And I always recommend that if it's a heavily used room. It's just easier to clean up and, you know, wipe the water into the sink versus a vessel, which in this case we were looking at that originally too. So some of the items that you want to consider is, you know, in the layout is, are we relocating plumbing? In this case, we did here for the toilet and shower. Luckily, this was on a raised foundation, so the cost wasn't as large as it would have been if it was on, you know, a slab foundation. But that's something you have to consider. Are we adding or subtracting fixtures? So in this case, it was a shower only, and we made it into a tub shower. But a lot of jobs right now, I have clients pulling out a separate tub and shower if it's a tight area, and just going with a really, you know, spa-like shower. So that's something to consider. Are we relocating windows or doors? Are we adding new? And then storage. So those are just some of the things we cover. And that design layout can take as long as, you know, a week, a couple of weeks. It just depends on the scope of work and how quickly you as a client can make those decisions. So
Monica, on this picture, the bottom right is a computerized.
It's a rendering, yes. So
rendering, right?
Generated. Mm-hmm. So
that's so
what's
cool.
nice about this is I can put in the materials that we select, or, you know, if you have a like an inspiration photo and we haven't totally selected the materials. I normally don't do that right off the bat, but sometimes, like in this case, because it was a flip and they wanted to start, you know, promoting it, marketing it, we did this. Obviously, the end product you can tell is a little bit different, but it's similar enough. So the nice part about this program is it is like a CAD-based program. So I get, you know, you start with the layout, then you can do the elevations of each wall. So it's more of a black and white with all the specific dimensions, placement of windows, doors, all of that. And then we also generate the rendering, so you get a feel of that space before you even do any demo. So it's really helpful. Any other questions on that?
No, it looks so real that I thought I would point it out because people might have thought that it was,
yeah,
you know, an actual bathroom. But yeah, that is so cool how you can make it look so real.
Yeah, it's really amazing what the technology has allowed us to do, and it does help a lot of my clients visualize, because most come to me because they can't. You know, they have a hard time putting things together. So
I would say 80% of buyers that come through a home cannot see through what's currently in the home. So I make sure that my clients completely get their homes ready for a buyer to visualize themselves in it. I mean, they
Right.
have to like practically move out of the home. Yeah. And just,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't live in the home that we show. So
Exactly.
yeah,
And that's something
critical.
that, you know you have to do, because most people cannot visualize, especially when you have so much personal, so many personal items in there, and
Yeah.
they just can't see living there with your things. So I totally agree that that's the best solution for you. Next one. So in the budget, this really varies by area, by the materials you're using, what are you doing to lighting and the electrical plan, how much is that changing up, in the plumbing, paint. So I'm including this cost versus value cheat sheet that every year it's put out. I want to say it's the Pro Remodelers magazine. And it really does it by location. I concentrated obviously on our area. Orange County doesn't have a separate, um, you know, resale or cost value, but they do. We're kind of lumped in with LA and San Diego. And so for, say, just an average remodel, the mid-range, the job costs, which includes, everything, plumbing, the fixtures, the faucets, cabinets, counters, the average cost is about $26,000. When I talk with clients, I typically say that, a bathroom with a tub shower combo, cabinets, countertop, flooring, everything that goes into it is between 20 and 30. And that's also, if it's permitted, the contractor is licensed, and a whole bit. Obviously, you can find cheaper, but beware, you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're handy, that's a plus for you. So just bear in mind that you want, one of the things that I really stress with clients is that for insurance purposes, if you're touching any plumbing or electrical, if you're replacing windows, if you're doing anything with a fireplace, you really should be getting permits. Windows and doors, they're dead giveaways when someone's working in the area, and if a planner or city, inspector goes by and sees work done, they can check. And if you haven't pulled permits and you're doing any type of major remodel, you really want to pull it, because they can stop work and fine you. You can get away typically with something that's just remove and replace same location. You're not really changing up much. But as a contractor, they really are supposed to ensure that there are permits pulled. So that liability falls back on you if you don't do that and something were to happen. So just, for reference, so that you guys are aware. I know it's a pain. If it's really just a remodel, that you're not adding square footage, you're not taking down barren walls, and you pull a permit, it's really just the plumbing and electrical type of thing. It doesn't really add that much to your taxes, and I know that's what most people worry about. So again, depends on the scope. So next we cover materials. So the first step was the concept, the second was the design phase, the next is the selections. So here is where we really spend quite a bit of time zeroing in on everything. I always try to get my clients to give me kind of an inspiration board or an idea. A lot of people go on Pinterest, they go on Houzz to get ideas, and then we put it together. So my job is to facilitate that so that you really get what you're looking for in your budget. So cabinets, you're looking at your counters. Right now, there's white still popular, grays are popular. This is actually a project that I'm working on right now with a client, and she's remodeling her master bathroom. Nothing's been touched in this house in terms of the bathroom. We've done some other work. This is probably 25, 30 years old, if not more. And the interesting thing is there's a wall that separates this part of the bathroom from another section. There was originally another sink over in this area here. You can't really see it, sorry. I could only get so much of the pictures in here. So we are blowing that out, and we're taking out this window and we're adding this one here. And then there's a window above the toilet. So that is becoming the whole shower. So it's a large walk-in shower she wants, damless, which means there's no raised, section that contains the water. So it has to slope down so that the water drains goes all to a drain. And typically when you do something like that, we do a linear drain, which here's an example of what we're using. She wants a rain dome shower head. We're also adding a handheld shower. A lot of times, I'm personally not a huge fan of these because while they look cool and it's a neat idea, I always feel like I'm drowning. I've talked to clients that say the same thing, but a lot of guys like them. So my solution is go ahead and do it. You can have the arm off the wall. It can come from the ceiling, but I always recommend having a handheld. And the other reason is, first of all, for cleanup, so much easier, hard to reach places. But also you have more function on that. So you can have different spray patterns, whereas with an overhead, it's just a soft waterfall. It doesn't give you that, heavier, forceful water pressure that you want. Speaking of this, well, we'll get to the plumbing. I'm not going to jump ahead here. So here we decided she wants a very spa-like feeling. So we're doing some cabinets that are frameless. There's two types. There's framed and there's frameless. And the framed is the European style. So it's basically the door just sits on the frame. You don't have the sides that the door sits on. So it's very clean lines. There's more actually space. It feels like there's more space because you don't have the sides that are hampering your, sticking things in. We're doing floating, and there's going to be some lighting underneath. We have a linen closet. There's a hamper in here. There's storage. This is a little bench. We're going to do a bench cushion at some point. And then the tile. So this is the main walls and the floor. And then the accent wall is, this is all porcelanosa. So it's a kind of a pillow effect. And she likes the black, accents. So we're doing the windows, and they'll be frosted. So these are the things that when we're working on the bathroom, we're deciding what we're going to use. Countertops. This is a quartz and tall statuary home, really popular. It looks like marble. And the quartz is really user-friendly. It doesn't, you don't have to seal it. It doesn't stain easily. I would say probably 95% of what I do is that. Very rare do we use granite or marble unless there's a specific application. Bathrooms, I like this. So just kind of going down the list, we've got counters, backsplash. We're going to use the same material as the counter, but you can do an accent tile. You can do, there's so many different things you can use, but obviously something that's waterproof. And we are using the plumbing fixtures, the faucets are wall mount. So that's something that you want to decide with your designer. Am I going to have it on the counter? Am I getting a sink that has it on the sink, or are we doing it from the wall? So those are all different things you have to decide. It affects the plumbing. Obviously, if there's an issue with water, that the valves and the lines are behind the wall, so not as easily accessible if you have it on the counter. It is a cool look, and there are applications for it. The shower door, well, I'm jumping ahead. Tub and faucet. In this case, she eliminated the tub. She has a separate tub actually over here in this little alcove, but she never uses it. And she just wanted more of a large walk-in shower. She's getting up in age and just wants to be handicap accessible if it ever comes to that. So that's another thing you want to consider down the road. I always like to add blocking, which is if we have to add a grab bar at some point, you can add some wood blocking behind the walls, and then when they're building it, the contractor can note it, so in the future they can go back and add that. We're adding a shower door. In this case, it's a panel. We're not adding a door. She wants it open. And something to keep in mind when you are doing something like this where there's no door, nothing traps in the heat from the shower. when you're done, it gets cold. So just keep that in mind. She has a heat register already here. So that's just going to be relocated to the back of the wall. So if it is cold, she has that option. A fan, obviously you want a fan in there. So there's different elements. You know, there's a lot actually that goes into a bathroom. I think it's even more complicated than the kitchen, to be honest, because there's so many factors between the plumbing, between the lighting and electrical, between all the tile work. It depends on how, you know, elaborate you're getting with the layout, say the shower tile. Are you going to do something really elaborate or something very streamlined, like in our case? There are shower systems like a spa or a sauna that can be also incorporated if that's what you want. And if you do have the tub, a jacuzzi tub, all those factor into the cost because you have to bring in circuits for each of those items. So that hits the lighting and electrical. Lighting, by code, we have to have energy efficient lighting. The efficacy has to be high, which means you are not really using the incandescent the incandescent bulbs anymore. It's mostly LED. And if you are using a wall sconce, some cities are more particular than others. A lot of times, I used to work for a design build construction company, and this is when it was all coming about. We would have to put an occupancy sensor switch on wall sconces so that if they weren't LED and they're incandescent or some other, you know, type of bulb, the halogen, it had to turn off automatically after a certain amount of time after you leave the room. I know you can get away sometimes with dimmers, but more manufacturers are incorporating LED lighting now into the sconces, so it's kind of doing away with that. Pretty soon, we're not going to even find those bulbs anymore. Paint, wallpaper. Obviously, I wouldn't put wallpaper in a room that's getting a lot of, you know, humidity and use every day. So for, say, like a kid's bathroom, even a master bath, depends on how large it is, where that wallpaper is, the type of wallpaper. But you can definitely do it, say, in a powder room, and make that like your little jewel box. You can really go crazy on that room because it's just so separate from everything else. Do you want window treatments in there, you know, for privacy, for aesthetics? Furniture, I like to add a bench or something. In this case, we're using this as a bench plus storage. And then, like I said, we're going to add a little, you know, pad to it. And then accessorizing, not just your, you know, for the aesthetics of it, but also your, you know, are you doing, excuse me, hand towels? Where are you putting those? So those are some of the things you want to look at too. And actually that's more in the design phase, but those are things we also incorporate. Here's just another example of a room that has a lot of the elements we're talking about. So obviously the cabinetry again, the floating, it's really popular right now. The countertop with quartz, it's what it looks like. This one, the sinks the faucets are on the counter. They have a frame mirror with the lighting that's it's drilled in to the mirror, so they sit on top of the mirror. So you have to be careful what you select, because remember it reflects back. So, you know, grab bar or hand towel here, the separate tub. Depending on what floor you're doing that, if you're on a second story master, which a lot of homes are, you want to make sure if you have a separate tub, and especially like a jacuzzi tub or something that weighs, you want to make sure that it's supported properly. So you might have to do some extra framing. And depending on which way the joists are running, if you're moving that from one area to another, you have to make sure that you can do that without cutting too much into them. So those are some factors you want to consider. Here we have a little bench or a little stool that they're, you know, showcasing right now, just accessories. But when you have a freestanding tub, you have to think, okay, if I'm sitting there, where am I putting everything? So whether you do have something like this, or I've done a few where on the back side of the tub, we do a little ledge or a shelf, and that way you could even have the plumbing come out of that, or you have a floor mount faucet or tub filler, I should say. And I always try to recommend also with that adding a handheld, but you don't have to. So just some ideas. Any questions on that so far?
Well, I thought that having a bathtub anywhere upstairs would be fine. I didn't realize you had to make sure that the foundation could support a different type of tub or a heavier tub. Yeah, that's really good to know. And then also the afterthought of having a little shelf there next to it, or something to put your stuff, or if you want to read a book or have something to drink while you're in the tub.
Exactly.
That's a great thing to think about. I love how you're so full and encompassing of everything that you have to think about. I mean, that's so helpful. Yeah. You know, that's what your value is, right? As an interior designer, is thinking all the way through.
And that's why when you hire someone, I've been doing this for 20 plus years, so I've seen everything. And then again, it's construction. There's always something new that you're thinking, oh my gosh, I thought I saw everything. And then something new comes up. So it's really, you know, as a designer and a contractor, construction, there's always something that's going to happen. It's very rare that a job goes totally smoothly, because there's things that come up you can't anticipate, no matter how thorough you are. And so it's really, how do you address those things that come up? And, you know, you're a team between the contractor, the designer, the client. Everybody's working in conjunction together to get the best optimal end result. So
yeah, that's very helpful, and probably saves thousands of dollars to consider all these things up front, right?
It does. Yes, it does.
I do
really
have a question.
Does help. Go ahead.
I have a question. So are you going to cover color? We have a question about what about colors? And this came a little while back, but I was kind of waiting to see if you were going to be covering colors, or probably.
Well, if you have a specific question, I'm happy to answer it. I'm trying to cover as much as I can with a time frame. So it's, you know.
So maybe like popular colors. I noticed that you're using a lot of pictures have the woods, like different color woods, and some grays and whites. Yeah. I think those are kind of trending colors right now. Right?
Those are trending. So the grays are still popular, but we're also getting more into actual colors like the blues and the greens. We did one on paint, I think it was the last time, right? And there's trends with paint, with colors. So every 10 years it changes, you know, it shifts, but within each year there's certain colors that pop more than others. Blues are still real popular right now. We're seeing more greens, more like yellows. So when I'm even just shopping for fabrics, if I have a client that's looking for something that's not really trending, it's harder to find. But with materials, say for, you know, cabinetry, we're kind of starting to see more stained wood again, as opposed to paint. That's just in the last couple of years, it's starting to become a little bit more of a trend again. Darker woods, I'm seeing exotic woods like this one here. So it really just depends on, ultimately, it's something that as a client, you really, I'm gearing it towards what you like. Unless you really want to be trendy, but you know, after a while that starts getting dated. So you want to try to stick with something that is a little more classic in terms of it's not going to date out so quickly. But if you have a preference, I mean, I have a client that we did a powder room, and it was nothing to do with anything on the rest of the house, and the colors really weren't. We were fixing up a powder room that had already been remodeled previous to her purchasing. So she didn't want to spend a ton of money, but she wanted to enhance it. And it was actually in a hallway that it echoed. The flooring was wood. It's a tall, the rooms have tall ceilings. So she wanted privacy in there. And the backsplash was a brown custom tile. And so we actually upholstered the walls in there with a fabric that tied in the browns and the oranges that were in that room already. So again, it's really more up to you what color you like. You want it to flow a little bit more with the house, except for, like I said, a powder room can be a little bit different. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as every other room. But if rooms are open, especially with, we have, you know, the open concept now, there has to be some correlation between the rooms. So the popular colors right now we're still seeing, say, on the walls are the grays. I could say grayish, so it has an undertone of beige, or it can have an undertone of green, but still light and airy. You can do the accent walls. I don't know if that is enough information.
Yeah, that was a good roundabout way of explaining, well, not a roundabout way, but a well-rounded way of explaining different thoughts around it. So yeah.
Okay, good. So next I am going to cover, sorry guys, hold on, something's going on here. Let's see if I can get this to go. Oh, it's not working.
Do we take too long on that slide?
I don't know, it just froze. There it goes. Okay, sorry. All right, so next we'll cover the actual fixtures and faucets. There's so many things you can choose from. This, it's just a vignette from Kohler. I added a few things just to kind of round it out that weren't on there, but they're trying to cover all the bases when it comes to plumbing. So you have your tub with your floor mount, and they do have the tub filler with, you know, the handheld built-in one. For the shower, you can have a handheld, another, you know, the shower head. We're trending towards the larger heads, and that's still pretty popular. But if you're not, you know, if you just want a simple bathroom, you just need the single shower head with some function options. But again, I always try to encourage clients to put in a handheld. One of the issues in California is water conservancy. So when you have these spa-like jets, kind of defeats the purpose of having them now, because you can only have one water function at a time on. So for example, you can either have the shower head on or the handheld. Can't have both. You can have the spa jets, but by themselves. So it almost kind of defeats the purpose, but some people still like that idea. The trims and the valves for turning the water on and off, we have what you call pressure balance valve, which is the kind you just, you know, turn on, turn it to the left from cold to hot. Or you have a thermostatic valve, which controls the temperature, so it's preset. And then you have a separate on-off valve. So plumbing obviously is going to be a little bit more if you have some of these other elements. But again, it just depends on ultimately your budget and what you really want. Master baths, you know, that's where you want to spend the money, because also for resale, that's where you're going to get it. The vanity, again, a lot of wood. Still the quartz countertops, the whites that look like marble are still pretty popular, but we're seeing a little bit more coloring now, some variation in tones. In this case, they have the faucet is on, you know, would be on the deck. This is a light fixture, Kelly Wearstler's, kind of a higher end, but it's fun. It just kind of completes that whole package. The mirror, or the medicine cabinets, not as popular anymore. A lot of people are pulling them out. Excuse me, but there are some nice ones. Roburn is one that makes really nice, they're obviously more expensive, but nice medicine cabinets with a lot of different features. Some have outlets inside. Some actually even have a TV that it fades in and out when you're using the medicine cabinet. So, you know, for guys, if you're shaving, you want to hear the news, you can listen to that. Another thing is, I kind of mentioned briefly, the steam room and sauna. Those are some things you have to really, when you're designing, you have to make room for that in terms of what you need to do plumbing wise and electrical. And then something that I'm getting a lot more requests of, that that job that I showed you earlier that we're working on for a master suite, we're putting in a washlet, which is this is an example of a toilet with a washlet seat. It's kind of the bidet style where, you know, it washes you, it dries you, it does all kinds of things. The toilet seat can open just with, you know, it's like a remote sensor. And then they also have remote control, so this can go on the wall, um, so that, you know, or they have them on the side of the toilets. So those are popular. You have to consider that too in terms of the electrical. You need to have an outlet behind the toilet for that. So some of these things are, again, we include when we're designing, and that's why we try to be thorough as to what you want, so that we address all these issues as they're coming up and not after the fact when you're in construction. The sinks I briefly covered, but you know, you have your under counter, your vessel, which sits above counter, and the pedestal, not as popular. I really haven't done one, and I can't even tell you when the last one was that I did. It's been that long. And covered faucets. So the one other thing in the shower systems, not really seeing it, it's more of a high-end thing, but sometimes they have the all-in-one, which is almost a panel. At the very end, I have a picture, and hopefully I'll remember to show you that. So that covers our plumbing and fixture section. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am. We do have a question.
Okay.
We have a question saying, hello.
Hello.
Can you please explain some differences in design choices for a bath renovation if you're planning on renting out a house versus selling?
Okay. You still need all the functionality, but your materials, you want them to be not the most expensive, but still hold up. So quartz counters, I still would do. I would do simple, like, you know, full format tiles, less grout, less dirt, things like that. Just keep it simple, but still use somewhat quality products so that, you know, things don't break apart quickly and then you have to come back and keep fixing it. It's just, you're losing money. So it's better still to invest a little more. Obviously, it's not going to be your personal space, so you don't have to go crazy on it. But you still, you know, you still need the basics on that.
I guess you would make it more neutral than
Yes.
eccentric or something.
Yeah, you just want it very streamlined, very clean. You could do the subway, but again, there's different sizes of subway. The cabinetry, you know, you still want something halfway decent that's going to hold up, but you don't want to go crazy. You can do even a builder grade. Some of them, they're making nice enough that you can use them, but again, you know, some things fall apart quickly. I would just tend to go like mid to low mid. I wouldn't go cheap because, you know, well, again, it depends on how long that person is going to be renting. You don't know that really initially up front, but I try to stay away from cheap because it just falls apart too quick and then you're constantly redoing it. Just doesn't make sense to me.
I would think also something that has less seals or less things that water can intrude into. Like you wouldn't want wood too close to the shower, things like that. So maybe you're putting the quartz on the wall versus wood trim just to protect it more.
Yeah, and I don't know if I wouldn't even put wood trim in a bathroom that you're renting out. I would just keep everything. Are you talking about like around windows or doors? I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Well, there are bathrooms that have drywall and then they'll have the wood baseboard, right? And some of them are close to showers, and I noticed that often those get damaged easier. Any drywall or.
Yeah, exactly. For a base, you could do a tile, you know, a tile base, depending on what you're finding and what you're putting in terms of tile on the floor. If they have the trims, sometimes they have something you can use, or just find something that coordinates with it. But yeah, you're right. It's less damage when you have that. Okay, next one.
Thank you, Monica.
Okay. Hope that addressed it good enough. Storage, again, for bathrooms, especially with women and all the things we use, it's really nice if you have the the drawer cabinet, drawer and cabinet accessories. So some examples, the drawer organizers, like this one that has some different compartments for, different things that you're using. And then, the makeup, the brushes, like here they have the cotton swabs. So it depends on how you use your space. I really like these storage pullouts. This one has utensils. It's called a utensil storage bin. So you can put your hot appliances, like, your blow dryer, your curling iron, your flat iron, whatever you're using, in here, and you just put it away. It's not, all over the place on the counter, wiring going everywhere. You can add, I've done it where the outlet is placed back here. Sometimes they do it on the side. It just, some of them are, I think it's Grab a Shelf does some of these pullouts that have that automatically. So those are some really cool ideas that you can use. Here you have an example of an outlet, and you could do it also as a charging station under a sink, and then a rollout underneath to pull, to see things underneath that fixed shelf. Here we have it on, this typically you find on if you have a drawer configuration on a vanity, you have to have the cutout for the plumbing, and then you have some extra storage here. Obviously it limits some of it, but at least it's not the false front where that's totally wasted space.
I love those.
Drawer, yeah, they're the best. Either a drawer or a pull-out. Like this.
Yeah, we didn't have those till recently. When did they start making those?
Well, they've been around for a while. I've done quite a few of them. It's been over 10 years at least, but it's just not as commonly used. Yeah, now it's getting more popular because people are really starting to use their bathrooms, especially master suites. They want more of the bells and whistles. So we're doing more with the outlets and the, the functionality of the drawers. You can do a trash rollout. If you have the space under the counter, you can get, again, Grab a Shelf, or even just the Container Store has a lot of different storage ideas. The rollout shelving is an example of this. This is what we call a tower. It's basically replacing a lot of times the medicine cabinet. So it's shallow between a sink or two sinks. At the end run, if you have a wide enough sink area or countertop area. And I like the fact that they do the electrical. So say you have, in this case, they have the electric razor in there. But electric toothbrush, any number of things, your phone, you could have that also as a charging station with an outlet. I like that they're organized. They have these little trays. You can pull it out, use it, put it back. So it's more, so that you're more efficient in the use of that room, and things are organized so you find them easier. Pull-out ironing board, I mentioned that, the last one, for the laundry rooms, but I had done this in my actual bathroom in the linen, so you can do that. You could have the laundry basket underneath. So a lot of options. Linen cabinets, if you have the space, it's great with pullouts. Or again, you can do the hamper in there. Shelving, a lot of, right now one of the big trends also is the floating shelves. You can do that and add bins and baskets just to, organize, and it looks cute. So those are some of the ideas when we're discussing storage. And there's still even more out there. I just, got all I have to cover on the page.
This is the fun part because it's creative ways to get organized. And I don't know about you guys, but I love to be organized. I love things that have a place, and that tower on the right is pretty cool. Gives some really great ideas how to, every day you're using certain items and you don't really want them on the counter. So if you have a real quick space to put them, it's easier to tidy up. And it's also helpful for our kiddos. So if they have a spot, they know where things go to.
Exactly. You can put each of their names and have a bin. It makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
So then, so the styles, I covered this on the last one too, but typically in any space, you really want to make that reflect your own style and personality. It's your personal oasis, especially master suites, that now everybody's really, you know, they want that as a retreat for themselves. This was a job I did, it was a little while back when we were still using a little bit warmer tones. So this is kind of the grayish that I was talking about, but we have a separate jacuzzi tub, the shower. They actually added a sauna to this, a steam bath. So you can see up here, there's ventilation. You do need that when you're using when you have a steam room. The mirror was custom made, so we had some, it was almost like a makeup mirror. So we have some lighting here built in, and then the medicine cabinet, so on each end. Just there's a lot of different things you can do. This style is what I call transitional, so it's kind of a mix of traditional and contemporary or modern. And then there's also eclectic, which is kind of more of a real personal, quirky, and fun look. The farmhouse, big right now still. Chip and Joanna Gaines really hit the market there and ran with it. And everybody seems to follow that, although that's kind of now ebbing out. Zen Spa, that's still popular, and a beachy feel. Obviously, we're here in Huntington Beach, Orange County, and so a lot of people like that, also that vibe. So just some styles that you can consider. And again, it also depends too on the style of your home, if you want to keep in style with the ranch, or if it's a traditional. So you can kind of go by that too, unless you have a real personal preference. Again, master suites, powder rooms, you can pretty much do what you want because they're so separate from the rest of the house. Powder rooms, you can do that, or you can, keep it in line with the rest. But again, I think it's fun just to make that a little more personalized and fun for you, for your guests. And then this was the one I was talking about earlier. This was a showcase I did with a colleague. It's been a while now, but it was based in, the basis for it was actually handicap accessibility, where it doesn't have to be so hospital-ish looking, if that's a word. What we did, we did a walk-in here. So it's just no curb. The shower panel, it's really fun. We just added a little detail here just to personalize the space. And when the tile was being laid, we kept a groove so that sat in, and then you just have the clips. And then there's a panel here. This is what I was talking about, the shower panel or tower. It's hard to kind of tell from this view, but there's this curve, so that's your rain dome. And then these were jets with also the controls. So that's really more high end. They're not inexpensive. And it's, I really have only done one or two. I haven't done too many. Again, grab bars. They have some now that are more decorative. This very simple style. You have a, slipper chair for seating if you're drying yourself off or putting on some shoes. And then the toilet was also with a washlet, and again, space so that a wheelchair, if that's needed, can get in here. So one of the things that I try to work with clients, especially as we're aging, is just that you're safe in that space. That's really important. And as the older we get, the more we have to think about how we're going to use it. It could even be if you break your leg or sprain an ankle or something, how are you going to maneuver in that space? In this case, we did a vanity that we have a higher, standard 36 high, although when you have a vessel, the countertop height from here to here, it's going to be lower, 32, could be 34. But in this application, we also dropped this a little bit so that someone that is in a wheelchair could scoot under there. And we did test it out, and it worked perfectly. I always worry about an area rug when you have somebody that's, either with a walker or something. You want, if you're going to do it, something that has very low pile, a nap. So this worked great too. We have extra storage on each side. So this is could even be used for a husband that's a lot taller than the wife. So it's geared towards everybody. The functionality is for each individual. And then the fun thing, we just added some accents. This was actually in like a warehouse. So you couldn't do exactly what we, would do in a typical bathroom, but we thought it was fun. These are, I want to say vinyl appliques that we put on the walls after we painted. And so it was just a fun project.
It looks fun.
Yeah, it really was.
It's trying to visualize where I might see something like that. I see, yeah. Is the ceiling black?
Yes, because again, it was a warehouse. Mm-hmm. So there's, it was just black with industrial lighting. And then we did, fun story, a really good friend of mine and I went to Italy, and we were in Murano, the island of Murano. And we both saw this fixture separately and dragged each other to go look at the fixture that we fell in love with, the same one. So she purchased it. I borrowed it for the showcase because I just thought it was so unique. And then we just have some other lighting here. Typically what I try to do with the lighting, so it's even, your face, you want it evenly illuminated as much as possible, especially for makeup application. And so I recommend lighting on either side of the mirror or the sink, depending on how large it is. That one that I had shown you prior, we're doing 3 wall sconces because we are doing 2 separate mirrors above the actual sinks. So we do that, and then we do some lighting above. So you want to make sure your lighting is layered to give you the best possible lighting. Something I meant to address there, so I'm glad we're covering it here. And then just the last 2 are for another project that I did before and after. Just see how things can change and really make your life so much easier.
Can I ask a question before you start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think a couple of slides ago, when you had all the organizational type of drawers,
mm-hmm.
Do you have any insights on who makes those under-sink drawers?
A lot. Well, the cabinet maker is the one that's typically going to provide that. So whether you go with a custom cabinet maker or you go with a manufacturer, one thing I'm glad you brought that up. I typically use manufacturers, especially out of the state of California, because you have better finishes on the cabinetry, so they are more durable. In California, because of all the codes and rulings that they have, they don't allow you to use oil-based paints. So. And sealants, some are not allowed. So a lot of times I will order cabinets from other states. There's some in the Midwest. I've ordered up in Canada because we're allowed to do the finishes. It's called a catalyzed conversion varnish. It's a baked on finish, and it's more oil based, or it has chemicals that, they still are energy and conserve. They're worried about conservation of the environment, so they're still following some of those guidelines. California just always takes it to that next step. So these have warranties, limited lifetime of the cabinet. Some have 100. One I just used had 100-year. I don't know really if you're going to last that long with the cabinet, but they stand behind their product. Whereas if it's done in California with a shop, I still use them too, especially if it's a special finish that, some of these companies aren't going to provide, or there's something specific that we want that I can't get. So I'm not discounting them because I have used them. It's just the finish doesn't always last as long. So as long as you're aware of that, that's fine.
Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then again, so the before and after, this is a couple that the husband was a lot taller and bigger than what this shower allowed. It was, she purchased the home while she was still single, and kept it a couple of years the way it was, just living in it to see how she wanted to use the space. The interesting thing on this was that this door led to what I call the water closet, the toilet room. And on the other side was a laundry room that whoever owned the home before put a door into the laundry room from the bathroom, from the toilet. So you had to walk through that room to get to the laundry. So when we redid this, here in the mirror, you see a little bit, we moved the door. So this is now the laundry or the water closet room. And there's a door that goes into it. And then we moved the door over so that you can enter from, still she wanted it from this room because there wasn't really a better way to get into that aside from going outside the house. And so the next picture shows that a little more. So the door is here. We created a separate shower, a corner shower here. And then, so this is her husband's space. This was a picture of the before. So you can see it had the old, fluorescent bay. We pulled all of that out. We made some, a lot of modifications in here. It was on slabs, so it required a little bit more work for the plumbing because you had to move the drain lines. And one of the things, excuse me, too, that you have to consider when you're moving plumbing and it's on a slab foundation is what they call tension rod. So it's, for shifting of the foundation during an earthquake, everything moves at the same time. So when guys are cutting, they have to have it x-rayed to make sure they're not cutting those cables. And that can get expensive if that happens. So you want to make sure that that's done depending on the year of the house. And just to be safe, if you're not sure, I always recommend doing that if you're moving plumbing from one area to the next. So I think that's it. So hopefully I gave you some good information. I didn't overwhelm you. And I just wanted to say thank you for joining us. And next week, our 5th episode on the 5th, we're going to be discussing kitchen design. And then the final one, we're still debating. I was thinking it might be fun to do something on a wine room or on the, like a front porch. So if you guys have any suggestions, I'm open to it. I'm going to start working on that this week. So hope you enjoyed it.
Great. So do you want to stop sharing your screen?
Yeah, I'm going to do that
Thank
right now.
you. Awesome. So that was a wealth of information. Oh my goodness. I'm and so I love when it's from A to Z. You get it from thinking about how to prep, plan, prepare for it, and make sure you cover all bases up front so that everything goes as smooth as possible. Right. I'm sure with a few little hiccups. It sounds like an escrow. And then at the end, you just tidy it all up nicely and you do it for the least amount of cost and havoc, and you keep your timeline. So having an interior designer sounds so important and almost, required when you're doing these remodels so that you have the expertise. I mean, that's what Monica brings, is the expertise, all the things that I don't know about, remodeling. Yeah. I would love to have all that knowledge up front on any project I'm going to do. So thank you for the wealth of information today. You're welcome. It's always evolving. Things change. We're always learning something new, which makes it exciting. Yeah. So I love what I do. I can't say I don't enjoy it. Some days are a little much, can be a headache, but all in all, I do enjoy it. I love helping my clients. I've made some really great friends just doing this. I love it. Yeah, well, you get really close to people when you're working with their homes. Same to you. Same I know. Like it's a blessing. Like we get all kinds of friends all the time, new friends all the time. And it makes this, I don't know if you want to call it a job, but it makes this career, this life enjoyable, rewarding, and so I love it. My favorite thing is when I had a client, we remodeled her condo here in Huntington Beach, and at the end, when we were done, she goes, I love coming downstairs. I feel like it's Christmas every morning. Oh, so it was really cute. That made us feel good. So anyways. We hold on to those comments, everybody. We appreciate what you're enjoying most about your home and your life. So keep sharing. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks for joining. Tell your friends. Yes, more the merrier. Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend. Stay healthy, stay happy.